Welcome to Metro Residential, everyone. I'm Cathy Hobbs. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and when it comes to real estate, that can definitely be true. Whether you're taking photographs yourself or hiring a professional, here are some tips to help your property stand out. The power of photography captured in these professional images. When it came time for Madeline Simon to sell her Upper West Side townhouse, photography, she believes, has become one of the most powerful marketing tools.
I think that if it is represented correctly, then there will be more people that would be conceivably interested in the house. And that, of course, is helpful, even in a bad market. It was built by a famous architect. Finished in 1892, Christmas Day, 1892. It's a townhouse that the owner's apartment is 4 floors and 4 bathrooms with a garden. And then I have a floor through 1-bedroom apartment, and then on the very top floor, 2 very, very charming studio apartments.
To capture everything this charming townhouse has to offer, Madeline's broker, Deanna Corey, wanted to make sure the photographs highlighted the positives.
This day and age, the most important thing, because images are what people look at. Images are what people are attracted to. And if you don't have a wonderful image that draws the buyer in, you're not going to get the person clicking on the next thing to look more at the property. It can make the difference between a lot of showings and a few showings.
But if you do choose to take photos on your own, even with a so-called point-and-shoot camera, here are some tips.
Number 1, capture its best feature. Number 2, make certain that the weather conditions are right. A sunny day is best. And number 3, if there's significant architectural detail, make sure to capture it. And number 4, last but not least, clean up your property. Make it spick and span.
Award-winning commercial photographer Scott G. Morris specializes in interiors and architecture and shares some expert advice. For a regular layperson, someone who is looking to purchase a camera in order to perhaps photograph their property, would you suggest that they buy a digital camera?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Well, a digital camera will allow you to see what mistakes you've made based on a histogram, which is just the data that comes up on the back of the screen that tells you if you overexposed it or if you underexposed it.
It shows you the picture.
It tells you can learn from your mistakes just by looking at your pictures immediately without having to develop them or without having to process them. Most importantly is you want to have a wide-angle lens, okay?
And why is that?
The reason being is when shooting interiors, you have to get the whole space. So you will need to pull back and get a wide angle. Point and shoots and the standard lenses that come with all cameras are not wide enough.
I know that you brought some gadgets, for lack of a better term, some tools that you use.
The first thing I do when I come to a photo shoot, to shoot an interior, is I whip out my compass. The reason for this is because if I'm in a room and there's lots of beautiful windows and that room is facing east, I don't want to be in there in the morning because that sun is going to blast right through the window and hit my lens, creating fall-off prisms and undesirable light.
So what do you do?
Well, either once I figure out that room is facing east, I'll come later in the day. If it's too much of a hassle, I will just come at high noon. That way I'm guaranteed the sun's up in the middle of the sky and I won't have to worry about any light fall off. Also, I have here a lens pen. When you take your camera out of your bag and move it around, there's always some dust and some specks and particles, and I always just keep this little handy just so I can
I have never seen one of those
just brush
before.
off the lens. And if you accidentally put your fingerprints on it, you want to never breathe on the glass because that creates moisture. And this is a great little tool here, and it's very inexpensive.
And this is a level?
This is a leveler, and I use it for 2 things, actually 3 things. The first thing is to keep it horizontal level and vertical level, and it'll tell you just by turning the tripod in whichever way to make sure the bubbles are centered. And the second, and actually most importantly, is to make sure when you're taking the picture, the bubbles aren't moving. Because if the bubbles are moving,
that means the room's moving.
That means somebody's walking around somewhere and then the camera's going to end up being a little blurry because that means the camera's shaking.
If you were to say to someone who may be looking to at least just start off with the basics, digital camera, level.
It's called a hot shoe level.
Okay. Maybe a compass or just know to shoot at high noon. and one of these, which is called
A lens pen.
A lens pen, just to keep that lens clean.
Yes.
So when it comes to real estate, photography can truly help potential buyers see your property's full potential. Metro Residential will be right back.
A lot of people are still trying to figure out how everything works, so that took a little time.